how do we have like a framework or an angle or a perspective here on how to actually look at my numbers, understand my numbers, and really allow the financial side of our businesses to be the best business coach we could ever hire.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited for this episode because we have a dear friend and new author, Parker Stevenson, here with us. How are you doing, Parker?
Becky, it's just all coming full circle. Like I just don't think like anyone really understands what they're about to get into here with us because like, oh yeah, like Becky knows this guy who wrote. It's like, no, our lives have been intertwined for like 20 years now. And it's so crazy for both of us to be where we're at, despite meeting each other years ago when our lives were nothing like they are today. So this is, I think, going to be a real journey for everyone listening.
I feel like we should start there. I think we should take people back to a Wet Brain concert. I was in like my early 20s, and fun fact, I was not there to meet Jeremy. I was like the wing girl for the friend that liked Jeremy at Parker's concert.
Um,
So now here we are, like all businessy and professional and writing books and things.
I know it's so it really was I think the weirdest for me when Jeremy had reached out and was like, so y'all have a bookkeeping service, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, so Becky's got this business. I'm like, oh, are we having a discussion about working together? And I'm like,
We're not
okay.
talking Padres or high school
I
friends or
know. And then, now we've been working with you all, as your bookkeeping team for a while now and all this. So again, it's just worlds colliding here, but it's awesome as well. Like
so
it's just been
fun.
so fun to, especially with life getting so busy, especially when you have a family and stuff like that, to kind of have this reason, even just another reason for us to connect and be able to spend time with each other
Yeah.
and talk and
Like
all
we're
that.
basically
It's
just catching up.
essentially, and everyone's going to listen to it. But no, we did all the catching up beforehand. But no, I'm just excited to be here and honored to be on the podcast, Becky.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am excited for this because yeah, we go way back. We have lots of stories we could tell here today, but we'll focus on the business side of things as much as we can. So Parker, tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up kind of being a finance guy and an author now.
It could not have been any further from what I would have imagined or wanted for myself. But as we were kind of talking, your husband, Jeremy, we grew up together in San Diego, played Little League together, went to high school together. When I graduated high school, went to school in LA, started a band. I thought I was going to be a rock star. I have family in the music industry.
You are a rock star, just for the record.
It's debatable at 42 years old how much that is, but I lived a rock star life for a little while,
There
kind
we
of,
go.
but lived in LA, was a musician, kind of looked at myself as a creative and was like, yeah, like, okay, if the band thing doesn't work out, like I make music, I write songs,
Yeah.
like I'm going to do something creative. But when the band did break up, when I was probably 27, 28 years old, something like that. I was like, I'm not starting over. I am not like, I don't want to be band guy until if you're listening to this and you're married to like band guy or something, or you are band, totally fine. But for me, I'm like, I need some stability in my life. Like I can't just keep grinding, doing jobs I hate, and then trying to get a band off the ground. So I moved back to San Diego, worked in the golf industry. I'm a huge golf nerd. I worked for TaylorMade Adidas Golf for about 5 years, had a really amazing career there and had a great experience. Kind of was like my master's. I kind of looked at that as my master's program because I
Yeah.
learned so much about business, reshaped who I thought I was and what I was good at. And a lot of that was numbers. Like I was a merchandiser, I was in spreadsheets, I was working with our buyers and planners and also doing a lot of marketing and sales stuff, which was all numbers based and kind of was like, oh, okay, this number stuff isn't so bad. And I'm maybe better at this than I thought. And then our best friends, Corey and Anna, had this business, a small bookkeeping business. And I was talking with them. I'm like, God, I really want to do something more entrepreneurial. I don't want to have to just like be at the whim of these leaders in a corporate environment and decide when I get a promotion, when I don't get a promotion. And I was just kind of tired of that corporate grind, even after only 5 years. And Corey's like, well, maybe we should work together. I'm like, I think I can help you grow the business. And he's like, well, I think I can teach you how bookkeeping works. And I'm like, okay.
Match
The
made in
bookkeeping,
heaven.
I know, well, the bookkeeping took longer for me to really I thought like a couple months Took
Yeah.
me a year. Like it was really a year to really
Mhm.
build expertise. But here we are 10 years later. It started off with me, Corey and his wife, and Susan, our onboarding manager now. 10 years later, we now have, there's 20 of us in the business. We offer tax services now as well. I wrote a book
Yeah.
called Profit Pillars that's launching, I think today,
Today,
the
we're
19th
pre-recording, but
of November,
November
but when
19th.
this comes out,
Yeah.
exactly. And I just can't believe this is where things turned out, but I've never been happier. I love what we do, and I love talking numbers and strategy with business owners. And it turns out I've kind of made a career out of doing that, and I'm very grateful
Yeah.
for it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Love the story. Love the journey that you've been on. I also love yeah, we're talking numbers today. We're talking finance. And I know sometimes my audience can kind of gloss over when we're talking about numbers or
Sure.
think like, ooh, this episode might not be for me because I'm not a numbers person. But we're going to keep it really, really simple. And I think that's the beauty of it and why your clients love you guys is that you can talk numbers, but you can also talk strategy and you're like normal human people. You're not like, we connect, speak the same language. And I think that that's important in the numbers world. Well, first off, tell us where we can find your book. Let's start there. So,
Sure.
book comes
So
out
the
today. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And it's
Um,
everywhere. Like just type
everywhere.
in profit pillars. It's going to be on any book retailer page you can think of, any major retailer. But you can also go to evolvefinance.com/book to
Perfect.
get all those links, find a great retailer, and chances are we'll probably have some bonuses or some other items that will help you get the most out of profit pillars as a financial system for your business.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, congratulations. You can add
Thank
author to your
you.
title along with rock star and all these, all the other things that you do. Tell us a little bit about the book. What do we need to know about it? Why do we need to read it?
So profit pillars, and I apologize if you hear my dog because my son is coming home from the park, but this is working from home, right? We're
Real
not
life
going to
happening
pretend there's an
here.
illusion here that we're in fancy offices. But the book really came about from Corey being my business partner, being a numbers dude, being an accountant. Like
Yeah.
honestly, he could have been an engineer. He's a systems guy, he's a numbers guy, and me being more of a sales marketing business
Yeah.
development kind of person. And so as I've delivered the bookkeeping service. I was a bookkeeper in our business. I was an account manager in the business for years until we got big enough that Corey and I didn't have to directly serve the clients as much anymore. And we have a team doing that. But because I don't come from an accountant background, a big thing for me as I worked with hundreds of online business owners over the years was just like, there's a disconnect between what finance really is and what
Hmm.
most business owners think it is, right? And there's even this stereotype of like what an accountant is. And I can assure you, like accountants have earned that stereotype. Like most people who go into the world of accounting are doing so because they maybe have skills or interests or a personality that really fits with like grinding through forms, sitting in bookkeeping software, accounting software, things like that. But where we felt like there was a real gap was the fact that like a lot of business owners don't understand that your numbers isn't just for compliance. It's not just like gotta file my taxes or I'm going to jail for tax fraud. It's really
Right.
about, do you understand how your business is, like the financial health of your business, right?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, yes, you have to make sales, you have to generate revenue. But as someone who's seen a lot of 6 and 7 figure businesses be really good at generating sales and then sometimes not being so good at keeping the money, that's where we developed a perspective and the profit
Hmm.
pillars framework around, okay, how can we help our clients at Evolve Finance to think about their expenses in a simpler, more digestible way, but it's still really powerful and really insightful. And we prove that process and that framework with our clients for years and years. And they showed us, oh, yeah, like we can learn this stuff. And we proved that
Hmm.
we could teach it to them. And so we just felt like we had this huge opportunity to be like, okay, like there's a book here. There's a way we can
Yeah.
teach other people to do this. And there is some of the foundational financial stuff in the book, like what is this part of my business? Like some of this stuff I think we wish our accountants or our bookkeepers would have explained to us when we
Right.
started our business. But then we also go into like, how do we have like a framework or an angle or a perspective here on how to actually look at my numbers, understand my numbers, and really allow the financial side of our businesses to be the best business coach we could ever hire.
Oh, I love that. And, I think this is especially relevant to the direct sales world because Most direct sellers are, for the most part, solopreneurs. They're on their own. They have to manage their finances and kind of decide what to do with that. And oftentimes it's an afterthought, right? It's like, where's the shoebox of receipts? It's tax time. I guess I need to do something with this. But we're not looking at it as closely as maybe we should be. And I think most people in my community would probably admit a little there that, like, oh, I should be watching things a little bit closer, or I don't really know what metrics I should be looking at. Let's talk like real basics here. And I think this is important because they're not CFOs, they're not finance degrees, right? Like, so when we're thinking about some of those numbers in the direct sales world, what we're often looking at is a dashboard that our company provides that shows our sales volume. And that is the primary metric that a direct seller looks at, is how much did I sell this month? Now, I feel like this gets super tricky because it's not really how much money you're even putting in your bank account. In the direct sales world, you might have sold $1,000 this month, but you're making a 25% commission. So you're actually only getting 250 of that. And we're barely looking at that number. We're really just looking top level sales volume is the primary number that most people are looking at. I think that's a little bit backwards. So I'd love to hear your perspective on just the differences between sales volume, revenue, profit. Like, let's just break it down, those three basics, and why we should care about those numbers.
It's simple. It's so simple. Like you kind of just laid it out, Becky, right? It's like you have money coming in,
Yep.
and then you have expenses. And so I think with direct sellers, like you said, there's the unique aspect of, yes, of course, like a lot of these companies want to show you how much you sold because it feeds our ego. Oh, I sold $1,000. And
Yeah.
there's an ego boost from that and makes us feel good. But again, as a business owner, you have to understand the numbers behind that, which is, okay, I get a 25% commission. So I really made $250, which again is fine. That's the business model you're signing up for, where you know you're going to get a commission. And so
Mm-hmm.
that would be, if you were looking at a business from a business standpoint, that would be kind of your gross revenue, which is like
Mm-hmm.
after some of your direct costs of selling, here's what you're actually making. But at the end of the day, I think as a direct seller, you have to go, the 250 is my income. Like that's the real income. The
Yeah.
$1,000 means nothing to me other than knowing how much of product have I actually sold. But what really matters is that
Let's
commission
go into your
number.
bank account. Yep.
Just
Yep.
like if you were a sales rep for a corporation, right? Like you can say I manage a $5 million territory, and it's like cool, but you're not making $5 million, right? You're
Right.
probably making a good salary or whatever, but you're not making $5 million. So I think that's a really important concept to understand, because we don't want our egos to get fed on that. Because sure, if you're like, oh, I sold, $25,000 this month. It's like,
Yeah.
cool, but what actually hit your bank account? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're going to try to make a living off of. So that's a number that I think we all have to understand right off the bat. Now, for like a lot of our clients are online business owners. So what they sell is what comes in,
Mm-hmm.
but what hits your bank account is like the starting place. But then what
Right.
are your expenses, right? Like what are some of the other things you're spending money on? Your software, any team members, if you have a VA or a graphic designer, or are there any expenses that maybe you're writing off because your account's like, I get to write this off? That's where I think a lot of business owners get intimidated, because they go, oh, there's too much to keep track of here. And it's like, but there really isn't, because most small businesses, like you could keep track of it in a spreadsheet and
Yeah.
it'd be fine. But what I've found is it's not the math that worries people. The math is easy. How
Right.
much money did you make? Subtract the money you spent. What do you have left over? That's your profit. It's basic math. And I think most people listening probably can wrap their heads around that, and they're going to be fine. It's the fear of looking at it, Becky. It's the fear of,
Oh,
what do
tell
the
me more.
numbers tell me? Because we
Yeah.
want to feel successful. We want to feel like we're crushing it.
Yep.
But the numbers may tell a different story. Well, it's not a different story. It's telling us the real story. And
Yeah.
so those numbers will both terrify you, but they can both also liberate you. Because the
Mm-hmm.
more of the truth you can get, the more you can get a clear perspective of the reality of your business and the reality of the situation you're in with your business, then the faster you can adjust and make
Yeah.
changes and actually turn your business into something that's going to really benefit you financially. But people do it with their personal finances as well. They don't want to see how much they're spending because, everyone knows I got to put money into retirement. But in order
Yeah.
to know how much you can afford to invest and put aside, you got to get organized. And at Evolve Finance, that's what we've been really good at, is helping our clients just get their numbers organized. That's the hard part. The bookkeeping is the
Hmm.
hard part. But understanding those numbers, yet to meet a client that can understand the basic math of what we're talking about.
Yeah. I want to unpack that just a little bit more because I think
Mhm.
that that's really helpful to think about. So we figure out, we know the math, right? Like we can kind of figure it out. Even though in the direct sales world, I will say that finding your true profit number isn't that visible unless you're actually tracking it on your own in a spreadsheet because your company is not going to come to you and say, hey, you sold $1,000 this month. You made 250 in commissions. They might show you that, but they're not going to say, and you spent $125 on additional expenses. So your real profit this month is 125, right? Like they're not going to get you to that profit number. But if you're tracking it and you have it available, what are your recommendations just in terms of how often you should be looking at it? Where should you be tracking it? What should you be doing with that information once you have that truth essentially in front of you in that document?
Well, so much of this is going to be dependent on just how big and complex your business is, right? So,
Hmm.
one of the things that we're launching with the book is what we're calling our financial toolkit bundle, and one of the things we're offering in that bundle is a bookkeeping spreadsheet. Because
Oh,
let's say you have 10 expenses a month.
yeah.
Well, easy. Put those 10 expenses in the spreadsheet as well as any deposits of business revenue you've received, and you're done. It can be super easy, and the spreadsheet does so much of the work for you. I'm
Yep.
really bizarrely pumped
Formulas,
about this
magic.
spreadsheet. But yeah, it's awesome. We have a spreadsheet guy who helps us with our spreadsheets, and Dennis, the spreadsheet guy, crushed it
Dennis,
with
the
this spreadsheet.
spreadsheet guy, shout out to him.
I adore Dennis. Dennis, if you ever hear this, you're the man. But what I tell business owners is eventually you're going to have so many transactions going through your business where for you to
Yeah.
be sitting there and one by one copying and pasting transactions into a spreadsheet, that's eventually going to be cumbersome and
Hmm.
also a little bit of a liability because there's going to be a ton of human error. And that's usually the sign that, okay, I can't do this in a spreadsheet anymore. Probably need to get a bookkeeper. I do
Hmm.
not recommend that small business owners do their own bookkeeping. I know I'm biased because I have a bookkeeping service, but I say that with true sincerity because a lot of bookkeeping software companies will try to convince you, oh, yeah, you can do this. Look, you just connect your bank account and you're set. But there's like accounting principles that you have to know and understand in order to use that software properly. And you can really screw up the way your taxes are going to show up, screw up
Yeah.
your ability to understand the true financial health of your business. So that's why I'm always like, use a spreadsheet in the early days. The amount you can screw up a spreadsheet is significantly less than the amount you can screw up like QuickBooks or
Yeah.
Zero. But
Yep.
so much of this is just organization. This is
Hmm.
not sexy, but if you're like a business owner, like staying organized is
Yeah.
huge. And what I will say is the one of the most actionable things you can do right now is you have to separate your business finances from your personal finances.
Hmm.
Because if you want to make this more difficult for yourself or make it more difficult for your bookkeeper, then have all your money going into your personal account, have all your business expenses going through your personal account with your groceries and your
Yep.
haircuts and your gas and everything else. And then it just becomes overwhelming and intimidating to try to go in there and do it because you have to go through so many more
Yeah.
transactions just to find the transactions that matter for your business. So the sooner you can actually have a business checking account just for your
Hmm.
business income and business expenses, like that alone will reduce so much anxiety for business owners. And then doing your books in a spreadsheet or handing off your books to a bookkeeper becomes significantly less terrifying and a lot more productive.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice. Separating things out. And I know I've told my students, even if it's just using a separate debit card or credit card for a little while,
Yep.
even if it isn't technically your bank account, business bank account, all the bells and whistles that go along with that, just being able to separate things out, I think is absolutely
Oh,
huge. And then how often do we have to look at it?
uh,
What is it, a
every 5
monthly
minutes.
activity?
No,
A
every five
weekly
minutes, I
activity?
want you in there. I want you living and breathing that spreadsheet. It's not as much as people think because it's
Yeah.
funny. I've worked with some 7, 8 figure businesses where they'll come to us and I'll dive into their numbers and even clients that have grown with us, their businesses grow and they go, okay, we're making a ton of money now.
Yeah.
We probably need to do some more sophisticated and really financy things. And it's like, you don't. I could look at an online business owner's P&L, give me 10 to 15 minutes with it, and I'll tell you exactly what you need to focus on. It's not the types of businesses we're running are not complicated, right? If you were trying to start a physical product based business, right,
Mm-hmm.
that is more complicated. E-commerce
Yeah.
is just more complicated. You have cost of goods. It's a much different business game. There's a different business strategy with selling on Etsy than doing
Yeah.
direct sales or selling digital products or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Or a Silicon Valley startup where people are giving you millions of dollars to get your
Yeah.
business up and you're having to worry about spending someone else's money. It's not your money, it's a bunch of investors' money, right? So the financial tracking gets more sophisticated. But the
Right.
types of businesses we're all running, all of our clients, Becky, yours, even
Mm-hmm.
mine, at Evolve Finance,
Mm-hmm.
it really is straightforward. It's just that doesn't mean you get to put your head in the sand, and
Yeah.
just go, okay, it's easy, so I can just do it. But there is, again, finance. You think about corporate finance, you think about Silicon Valley startup finance, you think about manufacturing. Like there's all these other business models where it is kind of complicated and confusing. But for our businesses, it really is straightforward. And the insights to be gained from our numbers is really easy. So that means once a month. How
Yeah.
did the previous month look? Now, if you're doing your own bookkeeping, that might be once a month where you need to put a couple hours aside to download some bank statements,
Right.
copy and paste some data into your bookkeeping spreadsheet and put it together. But like our clients at Evolve Finance, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes a month. They're looking at their
Mm-hmm.
dashboard, they're looking at their
Yeah.
P&L, and they're going, cool, let's move on. What do I need to learn from this? All right, now let's go. Like, let's go back to running our businesses. So this isn't something we have to live and breathe, although we do have some clients, Becky, like Jeremy, your husband, who will grind through the entire P&L, look transaction by transaction, and just feels like they need to know
Yeah.
they can't miss anything. And that's fine. Like, that's not a bad use
Right.
of time, but for most of our clients, they're not going to be doing that. So
Yeah.
how can you learn the skills you need to just pinpoint the things you need to be paying attention to, learn from those insights, and then you move on with your day?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm lucky because Jeremy really enjoys that side of the
Mm-hmm.
business. And I know when we handed our books off to you guys, you were like, wow, these are actually in pretty good shape because
Yeah, he did a
Jeremy
great job.
Jeremy was pretty meticulous on that side of things. But we started with a spreadsheet, graduated to QuickBooks. Eventually we're like, okay, we're going to pass this off. Somebody can do this better than we can. And like you said, have outside perspective on it, which I think is really important. But I'm kind of in the same boat. We get our P&L once a month from you guys and I give it a quick open. And I'm always like holding my breath, like, how did last month go? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Okay. I give myself a quick run through anything big that stands out. I'm like, wait a minute, what was that? Oh, okay. Right. And have a pretty good idea baseline of where we're at for the month and, leave the details to Jeremy and you guys.
So, but the fact you kind of hold your breath, right? That is a feeling that I just want to make sure everyone listening kind of acknowledges with themselves, right?
Right.
Because we get into the weeds of our marketing and our sales and the things we like,
Right.
but there are parts of our businesses we want to avoid that we just don't want to have to deal with. And
Yep.
what I will say is that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Like your business will only be as successful and only grow as much as your capacity, as much as your capacity to learn is,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're willing to ignore entire parts of your business, like good luck,
Mm-hmm.
because no one's doing this for you. So if you're working for someone else, cool. There's a whole finance department in your
They got it
corporate office
covered.
that's
Yeah.
handling that. You only have to focus on whatever your job is, right? And
Right.
that's great. And you can make a great living working for a company doing your specific thing. But when you start a business, and this was something I wanted to mention earlier, it's easier to get into direct sales or start an online business
Yep.
or whatever it may be. That I think a lot of business owners go in just going, I'm going to make some money online or I'm going to make some money. And you are doing that, but now you are every department that a corporation would have to have. You are now it, right?
Right.
Like
You're
when a
wearing
corp
all the hats.
Totally. So when you're working at your old corporate job and they go, here's our profit for the year, and they talk about the financial health, you're like, cool. It kind of doesn't affect me as long as I have a job. I'm fine. But there's like teams of people that are responsible for doing that. But
Yeah.
when we become business owners, like your business can be profitable on accident for a little while, but eventually, if you want it to be profitable consistently, and a profitable business is going to be how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to eventually be able to maybe not have to work a full-time job or a part-time job or whatever it may be, or you just want to make more money, then
Mm-hmm.
this is a skill we have to learn. Like understanding how money moves in and out of our businesses is just as important as our ability to sell, as our ability to market. It just doesn't seem like that in the early stages because if you have no money coming in, that's your
Right.
number one priority. I got to make money. But
Yeah.
eventually, and all of our clients go through this because everyone we work with at Evolve Finance is generating six figures or more a year in revenue in their businesses. As I'm sure you've discovered, Becky,
Yeah.
it's no fun. Like when
Yeah.
you have a really, you feel like, wow, we're making more money than we ever have, but you're not seeing as much money at the bottom as you would like,
Right.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the game. That's the skill we're trying to learn how to play. If you can learn this skill when your business is simple, it's small, and you're literally like, yeah, I know I have $700 a month in expenses. I'm averaging $2,000 a month in revenue. Cool.
I'm
You're
good.
going to just
Yeah.
build on that as you generate more
Yeah.
revenue and take on more expenses. Your understanding of those numbers will grow. Again, too in touch with that fear of like, oh, I don't want to see what happened. What if it's
Yeah.
something I don't like? Like the sooner you get over that, the sooner you can start seeing what's actually going on. And that visibility is so crucial for not just
Mm-hmm.
like running your business. Like, I hope I get lucky and things just work out versus
Right.
someone who's like, no, I see what's going on here. I know what I need to do. Now I'm going to go out there and make it happen. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a different mindset for I think some new business owners and
Yeah.
entrepreneurs is going like exciting, I'm in control, also terrifying, I'm in control, it's all on me. So how can we lean more onto the exciting part? And
Right.
I think our numbers, we get to decide when we look at it, oh, I'm excited, I know exactly where I stand, let's go take action and either make this better or improve it or
Yeah.
fix something versus like, all right, let me just keep crossing my fingers while I go into debt or my bank account's draining and not taking full responsibility for what we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do, which is run a business that doesn't just make sales, but actually turns a profit.
Yes. Oh, so good. So good. And so many things there that I think are really, really relevant, especially to the direct sales audience, right? Like nobody signed up to be the finance person. Like we signed up because we loved a product and we were selling it online. Like it was fun. Everything was great. And then all of a sudden things grow and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to look at these things. This is
Mm-hmm.
important. And I think it's so easy to put that off. I can't tell you how many of my students that they're like, well, once a year I look at that. No, no, no. Okay. We got to be looking at that on the regular. And then the other tiny piece I just want to hit on before we wrap up, because I know we could probably talk all day on this, is in the direct sales world, everything operates on such a month to month basis. Like your dashboard restarts at the top of the month. And one thing that I spend a lot of time specifically in Academy VIP talking about is having that bigger picture view of your business and know that you're going to have seasonality to your business and know that you're going to have great months and you're going to have months that maybe aren't so great. And looking at things in a quarterly basis or 6 month or a year versus just these were my numbers for the month. I'm going to close that chapter and I'm starting fresh the next month. You're actually building on what you did the previous month. It just doesn't appear that way in the metrics that direct sales companies are providing you because they completely reset at the start of the month. You're not looking at your total numbers across the whole year. So I think that's another advantage just to take a bigger picture
Yes.
perspective on your business and really own it and take that responsibility. Like you said, like you're a business owner. You got to look at your numbers. And it
No,
gets easier
no,
when you do it more
no,
often.
totally. It's a skill set to be learned. Again,
Yeah.
Becky knew me when I probably had a chain wallet and was wearing like Dickie shorts, right? Like I was not a
Might have been the
numbers
case.
guy. Yeah, I had long curly hair and was like, I mean, I got C's in accounting. Like I thought I would never come close to this world, but
Right.
I learned it. Now, I've
Right.
learned it to a degree no one here has to learn it. No one's coaching, businesses on their finances the way I am, but our own business, all you have to do is understand how your business works
Yeah.
financially. That's all you have to do. And you don't have to do your bookkeeping forever. You definitely shouldn't do your taxes ever yourself. Like you
Right.
will get more support around this stuff as it grows. But if you're serious about your business, and it's not just like, you're not just thinking, oh, it's just a cash machine that'll make me money, then
Right.
I just want people to understand it's not as complicated as you think, and you can learn this stuff. You're going to learn a ton of other skills you never thought you'd learn being a business owner. And that's one of the magical parts of business ownership. The book Profit Pillars, it's a fast track. This is all you
The
need to
fast
know.
track. Go
It's
get
just
it.
like, it's finance
All
101.
places books are sold today,
It's
and it's launch
yes,
day.
please. And then hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Facebook, wherever you find us on social. Let us know what you think. And I can't wait for people to get this book in their hands, because it's the book I wish I had when I wanted to
Yeah.
start a business before I met my business partner, and was just like, this part terrified even me. I'm like, what am I supposed to do if like
Yeah.
setting up a business, and what do you do with the money stuff? And like, now there's no excuse. We got profit pillars out there for everyone to learn
Profit
from.
Pillars is waiting for you. Oh, so good, Parker. Well, this is amazing. I'm so excited. This episode is dropping right on book launch day, so everyone can listen in, go grab Profit Pillars, hit Parker up. We'll link it all up in the show notes, and so you guys can find them on social. Last question before we wrap up. I have to know what your favorite office supply is,
My
and then I'll let
favorite
you go.
office supply?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is my podcast mic allowed to be an office supply?
Yeah.
Because man, I sure love my mic a
You have a good
lot.
mic. You have a good mic. This is good. This is
But
good.
we both have
It's rock
the
star
good mics.
status, clearly.
Well, I used to sing like our recordings when we recorded. This was the kind of microphone I use. I got to purchase it, write it off through my business as a business expense. Like,
Yeah.
come on, that's the dream right there.
That's the
Get to
dream.
write off fun audio like toys. Like, let's go. So I'd say my mic, without a doubt. It's not even
Okay.
close.
I love it. I love it. So good. Well, again, congratulations on your book. We are
Thank you, Becky.
so excited for you over here, and love that we get to be your clients and hang out on a personal level and on a business level and do a little bit of both. So congratulations again. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. And we are all headed to our favorite bookstore to check out Profit Pillars. Thank you,
Thank you,
Parker.
Becky. Appreciate you.
Take care. We are proud to welcome CinchShare as the newest sponsor of the Modern Direct Seller podcast. CinchShare is the #1 most trusted social media platform for network marketers, direct sellers, affiliates, independent consultants, virtual assistants, small businesses, and creators in any industry. Start your 30-day trial today with coupon code GAMECHANGER and spend less time posting and more time socializing.